I'm Donald Betts, your host, and today I have a dynamic individual all the way from Colombia, actually from Australia, but I have Francisco
Gallardo.
With Invest Casa, where they help people solidify a financial future by owning property assets. How are you doing today, Francisco?
Very good.
Welcome to Dots
Very
Connect.
happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Well, thank you for having me. I just want to tell the folks a little bit about you and your background.
Sure.
You know, Francisco, I met him through mutual friends. We were looking at some properties in the commercial space, and my friend who connects with his friend always uses Francisco. So I wanted to bring him on today. Check out his Instagram at
Invest Casa AU.
And he's all over the place. YouTube, you can't miss him. If you're looking for a property, if you're looking for investment in commercial property, particularly, hit him up. Call Francisco. Francisco is a domain expert in property investments and acquisitions across Australia with over 13 years of experience in the industry. He's a graduate from RMIT University, Melbourne, with an honors Bachelor of Property and Valuations, qualified property investor, advisor by PIPA. What's PIPA?
PIPA is the Professional Associations, Property Investment Professional Association.
Awesome.
Of Australia.
And he's a certified agents rep. Acquired nationally over 600 plus properties and helped over 1,000 people buy property so far, and he's just beginning. Former senior acquisitions manager at the #1 property buyers agency in Australia and transacted a combined over $3 billion nationally in property investments. So I see property was born for the need to help give advice to locals and immigrants. Considering that Francisco speaks perfect Spanish, he's been able to help a lot of his clients to understand the Australian market and be able to really engage in the future of generational wealth for not only their families, but their children and grandchildren and their friends. A home is where all the connection happens, where families are born. And that's why Invest Casa means investment in casa, in Spanish meaning casa in Spanish meaning home. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Francisco Gallardo.
Thank you, Donald. Thank
You're
you, Donald,
welcome,
again
brother.
for the invite. Very happy to be here with you, part of Dots Connect.
Yes, sir.
I think it's a good initiative to do good for the world, good for the businesses, to connect good people. It's a trusted network, so I'm happy to be here with you today. You're a good friend of mine now. We've met through mutual friends. We've connected with really good energy, and you're obviously a very accomplished lawyer. So I'm very happy to be here and just talk to the audience about, what we do, how we can help, and I'm ready.
Well, before we get there, tell us a little bit about Francisco.
Yep.
You know, we know that you're out here in the game and killing it, quite frankly. I mean, everyone is talking about you out here, and they say you got to get Francisco on the Dots Connect podcast. My audience needs to know about you, and my audience is the U.S.-based, Canadian-based, Australia-based, and then we're really penetrating into the continent of Africa.
Yep.
So talk to us a little about the person, the man, the legend, Francisco.
So look, I think Invest Casa didn't start with a business plan. There is actually a story behind it. I come from a background of, my grandfather was a general manager of a bank in Colombia. My dad, he's a property developer and an architect. He built, most of the, significant buildings in our city. I come from a very small city, by the way, in Colombia. It's north of Colombia. It's called Ocaña, Norte de Santander. It's a very small city. Think about it, if you go, the capital city is Bogota. It's probably an hour flight north towards North America.
Yeah.
So I grew up, I saw firsthand, buildings, construction, property, finance. And when I moved to Australia, 2008, I decided that I wanted to, get into the industry. I did the Bachelor of Applied Science at RMIT my initial idea was to try to always go back to where you come from, right?
Yeah.
You can never forget where you come from. It's
Absolutely.
the essence of who you are. And so I wanted to, at some point go back to Colombia and help, the family and help them with their businesses. And so I decided to study, property valuations and investment because it was a progression of what they were doing to improve, the family business. And then I ended up staying here. I haven't gone back just yet. I worked for a number of companies in the past 15 years, in the development space. And then I worked the most recent or the previous last job I had before I set up Invest Casa was an investment advisory business where we transacted the big numbers. I was running all the acquisitions nationally in Victoria, South Australia, Queensland. And we were buying investment properties for people. Now, with that company, I learned what makes a good investment and what doesn't.
Yeah.
The different strategies that a lot of investors use. Obviously understood the dynamics of the market here in Australia. It's quite it's not a big market like, America or Europe.
Not yet.
Not yet, but it's a very conservative, very stable market that consistently has been given, returns of 7 to 8% compounded per annum.
Yeah.
As you know, Australia is it's had a very strong economy. Population, it's one of the highest, out of pretty much all the countries around the world. And it's a good quality of life. So property here is just a vehicle. It's just an instrument that people use to create wealth over time. Then I decided to before COVID, I decided to set up Invest Casa because not only I thought I was ready, but I also wanted to be able to help our community and to give them the secrets that the rich know that most people don't know.
Ooh.
Right? Once I had that in my mind, I decided it's time to do it. And that's why I named the company Invest Casa, because you invest in yourself and then you build a home and then you create your investments around it. We're obviously an established business right now. We're operating in Queensland, South Australia, and WA. And, we're helping a lot of people solidify the financial future by buying property assets. Apart from, liking property, I play tennis. Why are you laughing?
Because prior to us hitting go on the podcast, there's a tennis racket over there. Francisco has played tennis. And I was like, yeah, a little bit. And he said, well, I've been playing since 13 in Colombia. I was part of the national team. I'm like, no, I don't play tennis like that. But yeah, so, tell us a bit about the tennis.
Tennis, look,
you're in Melbourne, right?
Yeah, I'm in Melbourne. I still play tennis now. Yeah. I'm part of a pennant team in Middle Park.
Get it?
Yeah, we play every Saturday. Yeah, bro, come and watch.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll come out and play.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Look, tennis, not only until I got older, I understood what tennis was all about.
Yeah.
And it's a mental battle. It's a mental strength. You got to take it day by day. Yeah, of course you have to have the skills, and you get the skills by, practicing a lot. Get into, at least 10 years, there's a saying that, if you do something for 10 years, then you become an expert.
Yeah, master.
So I started tennis, obviously playing, for fun. I was very addicted to it. Like I was playing from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. pretty much every day in the country club back at home. And then, my dream was to become a tennis player.
Did your dad build the country club as
No.
well?
But yeah, but he was very close to my house. Oh, you're a funny guy. Then I moved to Australia, and I realized I wasn't good.
Yeah.
I realized, the level
Oh,
here.
you realized you were not
Yeah,
good?
I grew up on clay. I grew up on
Okay.
clay, right? And then when I moved to Australia, Australian Open,
Yeah.
then you realize that the kids here, like, mate, I'm 14.
Yeah.
I mean, how tall are you?
6'4".
Yeah, well, I'm 5'8", right? Very tiny.
Yeah.
A tennis player will be, at least, your height. Not only that's obviously one of the things. I'm not saying that's the reason why they become, but here what I found is that when I moved here, I was 18, 19, and I was playing, but it wasn't serious. Like when you come here and you go, kids don't go to school.
Yeah.
They're full into it they were a much level above, and so I decided I'm just going to go to uni.
Smart move.
I still play for fun now.
Yeah.
It keeps me in check. It takes me out of the daily work, the daily activities, the stress. You go and play, and you're just flowing. You're going flowing.
Well, when I was reading through your website, what jumped out at me was that housing advice to locals and immigrants.
Yep.
I'm an immigrant
Yep.
from the United States. Although I've been in Australia for almost 20 years,
Yep.
I'm an immigrant. And when you identify that, because we often not look at immigrants as a group of people who have the resources to really, really invest significantly.
Yep.
And what the truth, I mean, and you may find this being the truth, that it's the majority immigrants investing into into properties.
100%.
So for a message to the folks back in the United States, in the 50 states, from where I come from, and particularly the state of Kansas, what would be your advice as it relates to the current state of the property market in Australia? Is it time to invest?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So there's always a time to invest, right?
Okay.
Markets are very cyclical. In Australia, the property cycle has gone between 7 to 9 years, a period of growth, and the properties have doubled during that period of growth. There's about 8 major capital cities, there's about 34 regional cities in Australia, and there's about 15,000 suburbs. So there's a lot of options. But consistently, the returns have been 7 to 8%, plus the rental yield that the properties generate. So you get an average return of 12%-ish. In saying that, there is a lack of property, right? So property is about supply and demand, right? In a place like United States or Colombia, where there's a lot of supply, perhaps in certain areas, then property prices don't rise because there's a lot of option. Whereas in Australia, there's a deficit of about 195,000 properties deficit.
Goodness.
Now, Australia, around that figure, right? 200,000, call it approx, deficit of properties. Now, if Australia is growing, the population grows per annum about 400,000-ish, give it or take, right? Obviously, we can check the numbers, but it's around that, I'm pretty sure. Then the people that are coming in, then there is not enough housing for them. And what that creates, it creates a lot of pressure on rents, and therefore renters will become buyers and property prices go up. So if I'm overseas, right, and I've got money to invest, you're thinking about how you're going to solidify your future, how you're going to diversify it from where you currently are. And Australia represents one of the best opportunities because of the political landscape here is quite conservative, it's quite constant. It's good quality of life, GDP is growing, the country is good, it's a good life. You have a good life here?
Yeah, I love my Australian life.
But I'll tell you a little secret here.
Yeah.
Commercial real estate in certain states, you don't pay stamp duty as a foreigner. Now, for those of you that don't know what a stamp duty is the tax that you have to pay whenever you buy a property, right? Usually it's around 5%. So let's say I'm buying a commercial property for $5 million. How much is 5% of $5 million? 250 grand? 250 grand. Now, if I'm going to invest and I have to pay stamp duty, obviously, which is part of the transaction, but there's some states like South Australia where you don't pay stamp duty, right? So you save 250 grand. Now, here in Australia, because of the lack of property, that's just the main problem, mate. Like if you're in overseas and you want, your money to work consistently, you like solid assets, as a foreigner, you'll have to pay extra surcharge, but in some states you don't, right? So commercial real estate, I think, for someone overseas, it would be a good diversifying opportunity to potentially consider in certain states like, we got Queensland, we got Brisbane with the Olympics coming up as well, right? So what happens to the cities after, the Olympics boom, right? So you want to get in early. Is it a good time to invest? Depends what your strategy is, depends what your capital is, depends, what your desired return is, but there is opportunities everywhere. Yeah. It's just a matter of finding them, going through the due diligence process, understanding how to do it correctly, how to get the right legal advice, how to structure it correctly, and going ahead and obviously, trying to buy the property for a good price. But I think from people that are overseas, we got a lot of clients, especially from Spain, Argentina, with the currency devaluation over there because of the inflation issues and the government. There's a lot of people that, let's not talk about commercial property, not talk about big numbers, but let's say, you buy an apartment for 400 grand. Yeah. Remember, the Australian dollar compared to the US it's cheaper, right?
Absolutely. So 400 grand, you might get it for about 300, something like that. Exactly. A little less than 300.
Little less than
280.
Correct. 280. Like Market is consistent, and you buy an investment property here in Australia, potentially maybe houses. As I said, houses generate the best returns over time.
Well, what about houses? So for a foreign investor to come in and purchase a house, right? What does that look like?
Yep. So the first thing someone needs to do is, there are regulations around what foreigners can and cannot buy. Yeah. They are not at the moment because of, Australia has most of the capital that comes into Australia comes from Asia, right? So they have a lot of money. They have done very well.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
They have pushed the prices, especially blue chip quality assets, trophy assets around Sydney and Melbourne. You got properties in Pond Piper, around Double Bay, Ross Bay that they've bought for 10 million in 4 years. They've tripled, they've doubled, and that's Chinese money buying these properties, pushing the properties up. So there's restrictions. I'm not saying that's the reason, but there's restrictions because of the amount of capital coming in. So if I'm overseas and I want to invest in Australia, the first thing you need to do is, what can you buy? You can only buy new dwellings.
Okay. New dwellings.
So what is a new dwelling? It's a new house. It's a new house, right? Then after you sort of know, okay, well, what is my budget? What can I buy? New dwellings. What is obviously, the process? The process is, number one, you have to get Foreign Investment Review Board approval. Okay. It's called FIRB, right? It's an application that you need to put, where you need to say to the government, I want to invest, and then you pay a fee. It's $14,000. After you've done that, then obviously you need to select the property. You need to get approved, right?
So first FIRB, $14,000, get approved.
Get approved, yep. And then you go in and then you try to buy a property. Now, in Victoria at the moment, let's say you want to buy a house, right? Yeah. So house and land, you have to buy the land first and then you have to build it, right? Yeah. But you buy it as a package. Yeah. And
that's what they call the
house and land package. Correct. Okay. Now, in Victoria, you only pay, as a foreigner, a stamp duty on the land. So let's say I'm looking at a house and land package of, 500 grand. 250 is the land, 250 is the bill. Okay. Just for the sake of the example.
And
now,
then 5%
on the land. Correct.
On the land.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Plus, there's an extra surcharge for being a foreigner. And the surcharge varies from state to state. So all up, you'll be, about 7 to 8% on closing costs, which is what they call it in the US, closing costs, on top of, the purchase price. Now, there's a bit of a difference in terms of, buying a house and land or buying an apartment. If an apartment doesn't have a big land component and if it hasn't been built, you don't pay stamp duty. All right?
Oh. So that's off the plan.
Off the plan, right? Again, if foreigners are not allowed to buy established houses in Australia. What is an established house? An old house that's already built. Yeah. Right? If it's been built, but someone lived in it, and if it's a year old, it's established. You cannot buy that. It has to be brand new. Now, government's very smart, obviously, to promote. Building construction is one of the biggest industries in Australia. So they.
Well, do they determine if the house is established if the toilet was flushed or not, or what?
Yes, okay. I think so. That's a good test. Yeah, that's what they do.
2 buttons or one?
2 buttons, probably. Oh, better 2 buttons.
buttons,
You
okay.
always want to have 2 buttons. I mean, 1 for number 1 and 2 for number 2.
My bad.
Yeah.
I digress.
I love it.
Just really quick, for the Latinas in the United States that are trying to get out,
Find an Aussie boyfriend.
they have bucket loads of cash and they want to invest, but they don't speak English. Can you speak to our Latina audience or the Latin the Latin American audience that about just give them something, what should they do? You got to throw it in Spanish.
Me tienen que contactar, llamarme y yo les puedo ayudar. Sí, señor. Sí, señor. Con Donald. You don't know what I said. No. You just kept saying yes. You don't know what I said. You said yes.
That's okay. I'll
that is dangerous. Maybe cut.
¿Cómo?
No. I said something good. I said, if you want some help, call me. Yeah, call me. Look, I speak Spanish. We focus primarily on the immigrant community. Yeah. I mean, we can service anyone, but as I said before, it's just that, helping out the community.
Yeah.
Giving them that sort of the secret of what works and what I have seen that actually works here in Australia and how people make money, because we don't come from a wealthy background, right? We've
hard workers.
Hard workers. We want to have a good future for our families. We want them to do well, but we don't want them to do mistakes. We don't want them to make mistakes.
Yes.
Because you make a mistake, it will delay the process of you, retiring comfortably.
That's right. It sets you back.
Sets you back, right? So you gotta get good advice.
Your children and your grandchildren.
Correct.
We want to get into this. I talked to a gentleman by the name of Chad Johnson, a Native American Choctaw, back in the United States, and he always talks about building business so that it's 7 generations deep.
Right.
So not today. Yes, we may enjoy, but you build it to a level where you won't see it.
You won't see it. It's
but
just
the future
generational wealth. Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
So that's property in a nutshell.
That's property in a nutshell. Correct.
Okay.
I
don't want you to give all the secrets because you got to make a little bit of money.
I'll do it for you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll tell you the secrets.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So tell us what's hot and what's not in the Australian market.
The hottest opportunity in the Australian market, I think, is WA, Perth, and Queensland at the moment. I think that the hottest markets in Australia. WA, the economy, it's doing very well. Yeah. It's doing very, very, very well. Lowest unemployment, highest population growth, and there's a lack of property, Donald.
Yeah.
And so the mining industry is booming at the moment. That's where all the mines are. So there's big potential there for growth.
Yeah.
In Queensland, because of obviously the Olympics coming up and a lot of the infrastructure there happening. So the biggest opportunity, it's from a residential point of view, would be buying houses, well located with good infrastructure, with good land sizes, good rental yields. That's an option. Obviously, in terms of commercial, I think there's opportunities in the medical space. Medical centers, childcares. There's big opportunities in Queensland for warehousing, industrial property. So there's a range of opportunities. It comes back to, we service, as I said, we've got a lot of high net worth individuals that are buying commercial property all across the country. But they have different mandates.
Yeah.
We got this client that reached out to us, which I contacted you from Dubai, wanted to buy hotels.
Yeah.
South Australia, for example, for hotels is very cheap compared to all the other cities, right? So if you're a high net worth individual and you want to invest in, you want to put some money away somewhere, there's for the equivalent of a 5-star hotel in South Australia, they're selling a fraction of what they would cost anywhere around the world, right? So the hottest opportunity, I think, in terms of the states, Queensland and WA. South Australia is cheap, but it's not a bigger city, right? Yeah. So it's only, it's compared to the population of Queensland and Western Australia, it's not as big. But again, it comes back to what is your strategy.
No love for Melbourne? No love for Victoria?
Look, Melbourne is
commercial, potentially?
You said, don't tell me a secret.
the best hidden secret in Australia is Melbourne.
Correct. You said no secrets.
Okay. All right. I take that back.
Yeah, let's just
reverse.
No, Melbourne. Look, Melbourne. It's the sleeping giant that is about to be awake.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
Because everything else is growing. I remember property, like every market is, you don't want to get at the top of the cycle when everyone knows and everyone's already talking about it. You want to be smart and get in when others, what is the saying? Be fearful when others are greedy, right?
Yeah.
And the opposite applies. So Melbourne is right now, I look at the data. We have a good life here. We can go out, but you look at the data and Melbourne, and I'm not biased in any way. I just look at the data and just
Melbourne.
making a decision.
Really.
But it's one of the
biggest
city in Australia. One of the biggest cities in Australia. It's very well known. There's a lot of money here, and the property market hasn't done anything in the last 5 years. Donald, it's gone backwards.
Is that because of the lockdowns, potentially?
The lockdowns, the mismanagement of funds. The government got into a lot of debt.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, correct. You can look up the numbers. But everything changes over time, right? Now, this is potentially the best time to get into a market when it's cheap. There's an opportunity to buy.
Good.
So I think that's probably the best. I mean, you've told me not to say any secrets, but
well,
that's
we
probably,
do live in Melbourne.
Yeah.
We got to give Melbourne the shout out.
Melbourne is. I used to live in Adelaide for 2 years, and then I moved back to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Because I love Melbourne.
Welcome back.
I love the coffee.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So tell me a little bit more about Dots Connect and what are you trying to do with? I know you invited me to a podcast, and I appreciate you giving me a little bit of time to speak. But tell us about. Tell me a little bit more about Dots Connect and what is the vision?
Well, so Dots Connect was birthed out of the idea that, when I go back to the United States to visit, a lot of folks say, okay, I want to set up a company. I want to invest in Australia. How do I connect? How do I get in with my legals and my marketing and my property and introductions and relationships?
Yep.
And so I thought, wow, I have a huge contact base both in the United States and Australia. So why don't I set up a company that does both? So you have Dots Connect LLC in the United States, and you have Dots Connect Proprietary Limited in Australia. And they speak to each other.
Yep.
So if someone reaches out to one of our contacts, Centil and Oren, or one of the guys back in the U.S. to say, hey, I want to set up my company in Australia. I love Australia. I visited Australia. Do you have a contact down there?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So our goal is to connect Australia and the United States, connect those dots, and give our clients everything that they need if they're moving from the U.S. to Australia or vice versa, back from Australia to the United States. And we provide them everything they need to get settled and then, continue to connect from there. Yeah. So the purpose for this podcast is to let the U.S. market and other markets that tune into Dots Connect know that there is someone there. If you're an immigrant and you want to connect with someone who appreciates that and understands that, then check out Invest Casa.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not? Contact me in Spanish.
I mean, you've already done 3 billion plus.
Yeah.
Why not continue? Let it roll. Let's get to the T's.
Yep. Yep. No, it's been as you said, we're just getting started. I mean, I've worked with several companies. You sharpen your skills, but now it's a matter of just letting it flow and working with the right people. And just having fun in the meantime, right? Excellent. You only get one shot at it, right?
Absolutely, you only get one shot. Hey, show this brother some love. You got to go onto the website. What's the website?
investcasa.com.au.
Check out his Instagram. I mean, he's like going. I mean, I'm here with his marketing chief right now, and she's killing it. I mean, I hope my marketing chief and his marketing chief can connect and do some...
Connect the dots.
Connect the
dots.
Tune in to Dots Connect.
Shout out to Nath.
Later.